restoring men in history. Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg, and others have credited him with saving the entire movie industry and theaters. Why do they say that? We're going to get into it from a new interview that just came out. We're going to play some clips from you. And we're going to play some other clips on life lessons. Whether you're a filmmaker or a businessman or startup guy, I think it will add value to your life. We did another video on Tom Cruise on life lessons. This is one about how he saved the industry and life lessons from him. So let's go into clip one.
I look at an actor and I'm not just having a script that's there's the character and let's find the actor that can play this character. I'm looking at the actor and going, boy, look at the light that this actor has. Look at the ability that this actor has. And I'm looking to take a light and shine it on that and then let it grow. So if you look at movies like when I'm hiring, Renee Zellweger for Jerry Maguire or any cast member that I'm doing, I spend more time on their performances with the camera on them. And then as we're exploring the story and developing it, it's very much, I think the great coaches, there is the relevance of someone looking at the ability of the talent you have and how do we structure the defense or offense for that. But I'm looking at here's the story, emotional story I want to tell. Here's the enormously talented artists that I have in every area, and how do I maximize that talent with this story, and what is that story? So that it's that kind of engagement for everyone, and that I'm celebrating these artists. I have a thing where I want people to do better after working with me. I want them to go out and be able to have a broader sense of the craft, have greater, opportunities. So that's always been kind of a quiet goal of mine.
Now that is fantastic. There he is trying to make everyone else better, not thinking of himself, but others. And what do we say here at RMH? Think of others, not just yourself. He wants everyone to do better after working for him. That's caring about the industry, caring about his people, caring about the films, caring about the whole entire film industry, other projects, and their careers after him. He wants them to be better. And he does not see this competition, and you can tell that because I remember when Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning was coming up and out, he was marketing for Oppenheimer and Barbie and not concerned about it. He was not worried about the competition. That's rare. That's admirable because that's a very and incredibly difficult and competitive industry, the movie business. And Tom Cruise is not competitive in that way where he wants others to fail. And I think that's a good life lesson. You can win-win. You can be about your friends winning and others winning and everyone winning and your entire industry winning. Wanting them to do better, wanting your friends to do better, wanting the people that work with you. If you're a filmmaker, don't you want everybody on your film to do better? This guy's drive is just something exceptional. His dedication. He's always impressed me. I've always been a fan of his. I've always been inspired by his work ethic, his dedication, and his commitment to reaching what? Being exceptional. Being the best at what you do. And we talk about that a lot. Masters. Tom Cruise is a master. We want you guys to be the best at what you do. We want to be when you go out there and do projects and things, you want them to be great, right? If you make a film, you want it to be exceptional, right? Number two, there's another way he makes people better, I think, and it does it for me. Enthusiasm. Tom Cruise has enthusiasm. And he has passion. And I think when you're around enthusiastic, passionate people, it increases your levels as well, I think. At least it does for me. I like to be around enthusiastic, passionate people. And Tom Cruise is the most enthusiastic, passionate guy I've ever seen at all of the producers' conference or anywhere else. He was by far the most enthusiastic and the most passionate and seemed to love the audience the most. Now, if you like these subjects, please smash that subscribe button. Like, comment. Did you see the last Mission Impossible movie? What did you like about it? What is your favorite Tom Cruise film? Put it in the comments there. Put what you liked about the last Mission Impossible. We'll probably come back and do a film. I just saw it with the guys last Saturday and last Sunday. Saw it twice, so we'll probably come back and do a review on it. The plane scene's incredible. Maybe we'll get to that. Let's go on to clip number two.
Whenever Spielberg comes out and says like, hey, this guy saved the industry. And that's obviously something that I assume you want to deflect to the entire team. And obviously you talk about your team in a way that any great leader would, any great coach would. You're talking about wanting to draw the best out of people and what is the talent we have, and then let's make the movie around that. That's a football coach. That is a sport coach. I love to hear your leadership. But whenever that is bestowed upon you during COVID, when they thought the movies were going to be dead, like everybody was going to stream, did you take that upon yourself? Did you feel a little bit of weight of the industry? And how have you kind of navigated that?
Well, what I did is basically, I did, because look, my friends, it's not just about the films I'm making. The difference in movies, I guess, and other sports is I've never felt competitive with other people. I'm like, I want everyone to do well. And so, I did. I just made sure that mission got made, that when everything shut down, I really worked and had to take it on. And, I talked to McHugh, who writes and directs and produces these films. And I was like, we're going to have to really do this. And I'm going to stay in. Are you in?
So how Tom Cruise saved Hollywood. Spielberg said it, others. First of all, we want to stop here. So true. Again, what do we go into again yet? He's always building up others on his team, talking about McHugh. And I've always heard him compliment other actors, team members, and people, other movies. And that's, again, going back, rare quality when you can throw out compliments to all others. And he's an exceptional leader. He really is for the entire industry. Here's the point I want to make. During a very odd time with government interference and what was going on during COVID and that controlling government, what did he do? He could have stopped. He could have said, that's for the studios to handle. We'll let those guys handle it. He could have said it's for others to handle, for the movie whole industry to handle it, but he stepped in. He thought it was his problem to solve. And he took on the problem and said to McHugh, we're going to have to do this. It's going to be us, right? And that is leadership for the entire industry. That's how much he's concerned about theaters, people never going again, and his entire industry. And he sees it as a whole sum, right? If movies go down and theaters go down, that hurts everyone, not just him, but it hurts him as well. You want to keep the whole industry propped up, and theaters were having a hard time. That's a leader doing what? We talk about initiative a lot. It's a great masculine quality and virtue. Taking charge, taking responsibility for his industry, just magnificent. I really respect this guy. I mean, this guy is pretty awesome. He took on the responsibility. It's admirable. It's impressive. And again, he could have said, hey, man, let's let these other guys handle it. But he tells McHugh they have to do it. Let's go to the next clip now.
So what I did was I just worked with the governments. I called one studio, and this is what I really did. I called the studio. I was like, you guys shooting? He's like, no, we can't. We're all shut down for that. I said, oh, wow. I said, we're shooting our movies. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, we're making our movies. And then, so I called back a week later, and I was like, how's it going? They said, oh, yeah, we're shooting our films. I said, because we're coming out next summer, And I said, so, we're on this date. I hope you're not on this date. They're like, well, we're making our movie and we're coming out next summer. And then I called the studio that I was working with. I said, look, all these guys are making movies. We got to make movies.
So he goes with a bluff, right? I mean, that is bold. This guy takes bold risk. This guy kept the movie industry going. And a lot of people have credited him for that. But it's interesting behind the scenes here. And we're going to do a couple of clips. Incredible initiative, bold action, creativity, right? He showed his creativity and solutions for a problem. He just didn't sit there and complain and whine. He took action. Let's go to clip 4.
So, and I just kept everyone working throughout. So they were like, okay, we got to make movies. So then I was like, we had to finish Top Gun Maverick in post during COVID. And I was basically, everyone was kind of like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. I was like, always going, I don't take no for an answer, really, Pat. I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be a solution. So I was calling, like, we have to set up the rules. Let's make agreements so that we can get back to work. And then I was calling governments and getting agreements with them. And then I was sharing it with the other studios and my friends, saying this is how we're doing it. And then just kind of saying my crew's going to get paid during this time. I just kept everybody working. And then slowly, and not so slowly, before you know it, we're able to just make sure that we're creating even our orchestra for Top Gun Maverick. We were able to get mics to people's apartments all over the world where they're recording their instruments and then combining those instruments to create a live orchestra.
So Tom does not take no well. We talk here about never quitting. He did not quit. He kept going. And that's what we want you men to do, and keep going when you face, this is a massive adversity, right? Massive obstacle, COVID. How he's going to deal with it, how he's overcome it. And the world was in on it, right? I mean, everybody was falling, right? So that's a great virtue, to keep going in the midst of tremendous adversity and not take no for an answer. So you may face that in startups, you may face that at your work as an employee, you may face that in many things, marriage, whatever it is, and you may have to do that, not take no for an answer. And when everybody says it's impossible, do like Tom Cruise, make it possible. So he got the industry going, got other films going. Those calls are fantastic, and no one else like him. And how about the sending out to the musicians' homes and recording from them, so he has a live orchestra? Pretty amazing tale of creativity for Tom Cruise. Figuring out solutions to do what? Make a great film for whom? You, the audience. Let's keep going. Clip 5.
And just showing people, look, we can do this. We can do it safely. Let's create whatever rules so that we can move forward. And that's what I did. And I ensured that Top Gun Maverick did not go to streaming, that it was held for distribution. And I was calling all the theater owners globally that are my friends for decades, and the studio heads and all of us kind of said, look, this movie's coming out, period. It's coming out in theaters. And just kind of worked with everyone and said, look, we're all going to get through this. We're going to get through it. It's going to be okay.
So Tom Cruise had to take a stand against streaming the movie. And think of the difference if Tom Cruise doesn't take that stand. If he doesn't say, no, we're not going to stream. We got to put it out. This guy is a leader, and he led the entire industry in getting that film and not streaming it and getting it to the theaters. Top Gun Maverick doesn't go to the theaters. And I want you to think about something. It wouldn't have been the same experience for me. I went with 2 great friends. And I really do think it was a pivotal moment for many reasons. First of all, it was a great movie. It wasn't just getting back to the movies. There was finally a great film that I wanted to see. And I do think it was a pivotal moment to see that film with a collective, an audience. But we watched it together and people cheered. I mean, you felt the energy in the theater. I was at this huge theater with 2 great friends, and you felt that energy. And it was just good because a major movie star, the last movie star maybe, Tom Cruise was in it, but he was in an exceptional film, and he cares that it's good. So the other thing he talked about was his work ethic. What did he say he was working? This guy was working 7 days a week, night and day, him and McHugh. That's a dedication. So if you love something or are passionate, or you have to, can you work 7 days a week, night and day? He did, to get it done and get that film in the theater for you, Top Gun Maverick. Resilience, another virtue. He had resilience. He overcame the obstacles to do that. He made it through COVID and 2 strikes and got that film out. And then got Dead Reckoning out after that. Now, here's some other clips from the other interview, which we did a few on, that I wanted to bring back, because these are good clips that I wanted you to see. Next clip.
My experience with a story or a movie is my experience and what I feel and what I recognize. And then I sit in audiences, I'm like, did you have the same experience as I did? Like, that's why I like cinema and the collective group of all of us together and sharing this experience together and bringing our own lives and our own stories and then experiencing it. I'm not someone who would read something to know how I should experience it.
Yeah.
Whatever art form it is, whatever culture it is, it's like I want to know for myself. I've never been someone to take someone's opinion. I'll listen, but I want to evaluate things for myself. And that's how I felt about movies. And the things that I would do is, and I still do, I study people's careers, and I studied the history of movies and how they're made, and and kind of pull from that and see what things I felt worked with cinema, and how do I build an environment where it's creatively, rich, and And how do I do that? So every kind of little door that opened, I would bang the door open and push harder and be willing to make mistakes, be willing to, evaluate why some things worked and why it didn't.
So the big takeaway is what? Think for yourself, experience it yourself, make up your mind yourself, make your decisions. Ask yourself questions. If you're doing a startup or whatever it is, what makes it work? What's making it not work? You can do that in relationships and other things. So think and experience. He will listen to others, but he evaluates himself. And we need a lot of thinking in America. Number 2, mastery. He is a master. He studies history. He studies people's career. If you want to be great at something, study your industry, study the people in it. And if you're a filmmaker or actor, I think you should go back. And I do think there's an experience you get on the big screen as an audience member, collectively together, and going with friends as well. It's certainly different than watching at home versus the big screen. So study the history. Also be willing to make mistakes. We say that often. You're going to make mistakes, it's okay. Build a rich and creative environment. You can do that in a startup. You can build a good environment in a startup or a good environment in a small business, the culture you create there. He's talking about building a rich, creative environment, but I think you can apply it to many things. Let's go on to the next clip, which is a good story about a few good men.
And I remember the Nicholson scene when we were there in the courtroom. Suddenly I'm looking around and the rafters were filled and people, we were making movies in LA at that point, and the rafters are filled and people were coming in just to see this scene. Like the town knew that we were shooting it and they would come just to see the scene, to see us go at it. Yeah, people were kind of surrounding and filling the rafters around just to watch Nicholson and I go at it. And it was magnificent to watch him and see what a wordsmith he is. Like a great crooner, to see him carve up the dialogue and make it his own and find his own stillness. And you could see he had his hat. And I was like, look, I'll go first, with this. And he was very generous, an actor's actor. He's off camera the whole time, just feeding me, and very supportive. And he'd be like, that was a good take, good, Tommy, nice, Tommy. Always like pull me aside, and that was a nice one, Tommy. Remember that in the next one.
Cheers.
And just really like lovely. And he just loved it, me going at him. And I could just see also as I'm doing it in the same way, like, when you're acting, you're in the performance, but it's very much kind of I don't know how to describe it. I'm filling the space. Do you know what I'm saying? You're there, but I'm also watching him. It just has this, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling creating like that. And especially like with Nicholson, he's just right there. He just very present.
So again, he's very complimentary of other actors, and I've noticed that through his whole career, and here he's very complimentary of Jack Nicholson, right? And again, you can hear that drive in his voice to make the best film possible for the audience. That's a theme that comes back over and over and over for Tom Cruise. And can you imagine being up in the rafters at the studio in LA when everyone was shooting there and all these actors are there? I mean, that's pretty amazing tell. And watching Jack Nicholson and him go at each other, pretty great tell. And I just thought it was a great story to tell. Let's go on to the next clip.
And I could see he had the hat. And Nicholson, and I spent a lot of time even, just teaching actors about the lens and understanding what the lens is. It's important to understand the tools around you and what you're doing, and just don't, you're here like this. Nicholson understands that lens, and those guys that came up, Newman, all of them understood the lens. It's like understanding the stage as an actor, on stage. But a lot of artists it's not taught in film school to understand what the lens is and what to do and why the eye movements and not the eye movements, the eyebrows or the breath, and recognize what effect that has. And it's not that and you can't just get locked into that, but you must understand there's a tech to it, Art, the derivation of art is skill. It's not, there's a skill to that, and there's a skill to performing in the various, and stage is different than movies, and movies are different than television, but you could see Nicholson, he understood it so well the stillness and what he knew the power of that character. And when you see him, he just started to grip that hat, and he was looking for his center, and you could feel his voice start to relax and his face start to relax, and you could feel the energy that he was going, and he just centered it like, and just throwing like just lasers as the film went on. And he knew what he was doing, and he was absolutely correct. And every actor, when you're working with them, that they understand their art form to that degree.
So again, this can be true for any business, whether you're going to use AI or the new tools that are coming out. The existing tools are using everything possible for your business, and that's what he's talking about. To make your business better, to make your job better, whatever it is. For him, he's talking about the lens and the tools for filmmaking. If you're a filmmaker, you certainly want to know these tools and understand the tools around you to use and apply, right? You don't just want to know it, you want to apply it, he's talking about, to make better art. And he compliments all the old actors. They understood it. He has a rich sense of the history, the older actors, understanding your business, understanding the differences in stage, theater versus film, and knowing the differences, eye movements, breath, all of that counts in a film. What effect does that have on the audience? He's always thinking about you, the audience. How do we enrich your experience? How do we make it better? There's a tech to it, he talks about. There's a tech to it and a skill to it. And you can tell he's a perfectionist, and he's reaching for excellence in this. You can tell that. Derivation of art is skill, so you want to develop your skills for whatever you're doing, right? If you want to be a master filmmaker, you want to study all the greats, watch their films, know why they do that, why they do this, why are they doing this, right? Also, it's about building the skills, and I think that we talk about building skills as men at RMH all the time. You want to build this skill, build that skill, right? Using all the tools if you want to be a great filmmaker or a great actor or a great editor or whatever it is. You want to be a great director, you might want to take acting classes, right? Let's go to the next clip.
You spend time, I always tell actors, spend time in the editing room. Produce a movie and really understand and study movies, study old movies, study new movies, recognize what the composition is giving you, from comedy to drama, know what those lenses are, and know how to use it to your benefit. And understand the lighting. You look at guys like Brando in The Godfather. He knew what Gordon Willis was doing. He absolutely understood the lighting and the lenses. And all the greats, they understand it.
Again, advising actors to do what? And you can apply this to your industry, your career, your profession. Wanting everyone to be better. That's leader, right? As a leader, you want all your men to be better, right? You want to encourage them. You want to edify them. You want to build them up. He does that. He's a great leader. And it's all about making, again, same theme, excellent films for him. There's a drive and a mission to use everything possible to do the best we can for the audience, to make them feel, to move them. That is what he's getting at. So again, he tells the actors to do what? Tells them to go produce a film. What are you going to learn by producing a film? Well, you're going to sit in the editing room probably. You're going to have to raise money probably and be involved in that distribution, marketing. And you're going to learn all the facets and features, the costume, hiring those people as well and evaluating them, right? You're going to have to hire a costume person, a production designer, a gaffer, grip, all these people, and other people are going to help you with that, of course, a DP. So other people are going to be helping you hire some of these positions, but you're going to have to overall look and hire these department heads and everything, and interview them and understand where their vision's going, where they want to drive it, whether it meets your vision, right? So getting in the editing room, so true. I remember working on editing a film, and it makes you see it better, right? It makes you see it better. I was just in there watching it, watching every cut, and it makes you better to watch it as a producer. And also, he says, watch old films, new films. And I used to meet many people in LA, and they didn't know the old films. They hadn't watched any of the old films like Bogart and some of the classics. And they didn't like black and white. They didn't like seeing it. I remember Jimmy and I went to see Notorious on the big screen, and it is a different experience on the big screen. Hitchcock directed that. Cary Grant's in it. And the opening shot of Cary Grant is incredible. If you want to see a great film, to see Notorious with Cary Grant, especially if it comes up on the big screen, because the introduction shot of Cary Grant is incredible. Bogart films, check them out. They're fantastic. We should do some other Bogart films. Talks about Charlie Chaplin. Again, it's his mastery, it's his knowledge that's impressive. Tom Cruise knows Charlie Chaplin, how he did vaudeville, the black and whites, the silent era. He goes through it. He knows the history of his industry so he can give you a better film, so he can be the best at it, so he can be the master. And you can tell how much he's studied and invested and wants you to be perfection. He wants you to be great at what you're doing, and he wants to be great at what he's doing. So you can apply this to any industry you're in. So understand the entire process. Let's go to the next clip.
That's why Nicholson's there off camera. You know, I'm always there off camera, and I'm there. I do my own inserts. You know, when you see a hand there and those things with a foot, it's like it's me. I want to be on the movie set. You know, I love it. I love seeing the actors and being part of that and contributing to that.
So all I want to say is this. He is so dedicated. He does his own inserts. Now, they bring in other people for that. They've got professionals to do that. He does them himself. That is impressive. Let's go on to the next clip.
You know, I see old Hollywood, one of the things that they would do is they'd see an actor, an artist, and they had a good sense of, oh, there's a light. You can see it. And they would nurture, and the best of it, they would nurture it and then develop the films for them. You know, Chaplin and Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, all those guys, they started out in vaudeville, and they tested their performances and their skills in front of a live audience. So they would develop the material for themselves and test it. And
so this was interesting about the system, making others better. McHugh and him, the director of Mission and other films he's worked with, and those guys have worked together over 20 years. Think of that relationship. But they cast actors. And then the old Hollywood studio system they're talking about here, and I've read many biographies on the old studio system, they would find a guy, like a guy named Jeff. And let's say this guy's name was Jeff something. And then they find Tom Cruise talks about finding the light in them. Then they would build projects around them. So Tom Cruise and McHugh will cast an actor, and then they will play to their strengths and write that around them. Pretty creative and interesting that they do that. And they want to make those people shine so the audience sees their light. So McCrory in another interview said, people always say, you do such a good job of casting. McCrory talks about it and says, yeah, we change it for them, right? We write around them. Never give in. We talk about that a lot. You got to keep going. You got to face adversity and obstacles. He was creative in solutions for the problems. So be creative in your problems. Find solutions. Don't complain, just find solutions and go ahead. He overcame 2 strikes in COVID, and he got Top Maverick finished, and he got it into the theaters. That's what you got to do with your projects, whatever you're working on or your startup. You're going to hit adversity. You got to cut through it. Know the history of your industry. Learn all the tools you have at your disposal and use them. Think for yourself and apply those tools. Don't just know them, understand them. Experience things and films for yourself. Experience your industry, make your own decisions. Ask yourself questions on why things are working or why they are not working. You can do it for your life. You can do it for relationships. He says he's going to keep making films. I like this in his hundreds, so this is fantastic because he's a great star. Always keep going and have your dreams. Always keep going and have your dreams. He has a mission. It is to make better films, the best films possible for the audience, but it's also something else. To make everyone around him better. What if we all thought like that? About making everyone on our team better, about making our friends better. We talk about it at RMH. Don't just be about yourself, be about others. And Tom Cruise is about making the entire industry better, others better, and the best film he can make that is possible. If you like this kind of subject, subscribe, comment, hit the like button. Tell us your favorite Tom Cruise film. Tell us if you've seen the newest film and what you like about it. Thank you. Have a magnificent month.